All right, there was a Chassidic story. There was a
story.
story. There was a Chassid in Kfar Chabad called Rav Nechemya Lis. I used to help him. This story is like 35 years ago, maybe more. I used to help him to build a sukkah every year. He had all the boards and everything under his house, and I used to pull it out and help him make the sukkah. And then afterwards, my son did. Anyway, so he told me a story. He told me a story, and the story goes like this: that he was in the Russian army for the Tsar. For the Tsar, he was a tank. He fought in tanks in the Russian army and the Tsar, in the time of the Tsar. Anyway, so this is what he told me. And he got decorated. He was decorated in the army of the Tsar's army. Then when there was the Russian Revolution, so the Tsar all of a sudden became the big enemy. And anyone who was loyal to the Tsar also became an enemy. So anyone that was, so he was called down to the communist office, and he went down with his full, army uniform with all of his medals and everything, because he figured that would show his loyalty. And that was exactly the opposite. And they threw him into Siberia. So he went into Siberia, and before he went, before they sent him to Siberia, so they took all the prisoners and they said, when you go to Siberia, you're going to get like a half a loaf of bread every day to eat and whatever soup. But if you go on this ice-breaking ship that we want to make a new outpost somewhere in the Arctic regions or something. So if you go on this ice-breaking ship, as you get like 2 loaves of bread every day or a loaf and a half, and you get hot food and whatever. So he said, and not only that, but every year you're there is like 3 years of being here. So he was sentenced to like 10 years or something. So he said, okay, I'll go. So he went. There was a bunch of others that went. So he went on this ship, and they went to the outpost, and there was an ice-breaking ship. So there was some strange place, in the middle of the Arctic, just in the middle of nowhere, and there broke out some sort of a disease there, and almost everybody died. Almost everyone died, some sort of a plague, I don't know. And those that didn't die from cold, they died from this, and they sent messages back. By the time the people came to get them, as there was only like 2 or 3 people left or whatever, and they abandoned the whole entire thing. And he was there for like 2 years or whatever, 2 years. And he came back 2 years, 3 years, however long it was that he was there. He came back. That was his full service. They said, okay, you've been there 3 years. And he thought to himself, what in the world happened over there? I went there. Absolutely nothing was accomplished at all. I just went there. He was a religious Jew. He was religious. At that time, he was, vaguely religious, because it was in the Tsar's army where it was. Anyways, but he was religious. I guess he prayed or whatever he did, put on tefillin. So he said he was there for 3 years and got absolutely nothing done. There was no base built. There was no trees chopped down. Nobody benefited from whatsoever. Everybody died. And he came back, nothing happened, just 3 years just taken from his life. So he figured, okay, at least I'm alive. But still the question weighed on him. Until one day, so he walked down the street, heard the Chassidim making a farbrengen in the middle of the night. And he went in. He went into the farbrengen. They were in the synagogue, they were singing. And he went in. And when he went in, he heard a story. What was the story? The story is that the Baal Shem Tov once sent a pupil to do something, to get whatever, on a journey somewhere. And the pupil went there on this journey, and on the way, the ship sank, and he came out on some sort of an island or whatever. And and he was there for like 3 years on this island, or he was there for a certain amount of time. And he just sort of wandered around, found himself a place to eat. They found what food to eat and a place to, they built himself a little sort of shelter, whatever, and he lived there. And finally, after the time came, so he went back. A ship came, he saw a ship in the distance, and he signaled to the ship. The ship took him, where was the ship going? Back to Mezibuz, back to where the Baal Shem Tov was. So he came back to the Baal Shem Tov. And he said, I didn't do what you told me. He said, oh, yeah, you did what I wanted. He said, what do you mean? Well, I was just on this island. I got absolutely nothing done. There was no, I knew when Shabbos was. I knew when it was. I marked it down. So I knew when the days were. I knew, but I didn't know, I didn't, there was no congregation. I didn't do anything. So the Baal Shem Tov said that in that place where you were, a Jew had never been there in the whole history of the world. Never been. You had to be there in order to say words of Torah and elevate the place, to make a blessing in that place. That's why you were there. In order to make a blessing and to elevate that desolated place. And that's another step in the coming of Mashiach. So Rav Nechemya he said, just by accident, I went into that Chassidic Farbringen, and I heard that story being told. He said, suddenly I realized, well, that answers my question, why I was in Siberia. I was there probably, I made blessings when I ate before my food, whatever the things he did. So that obviously prepares the place. I mean, for sure, there was no one ever there that made a blessing. That's no doubt about it. So he said, that's the reason I was there. And that was one of the things that contributed for him becoming more religious, I guess, because connected to Chabad. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Have a good Shabbos. God willing, Motzi Shabbos will already be dancing with Mashiach in Jerusalem, but there will be a class if the Mashiach allows it. There'll be a class. The class will not stop. There will be a class on Sunday, 8:15. Everyone is invited. God bless you all. Have a good Shabbos.
With millions of people.
Why not? Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Watching on YouTube. More and more people are watching these classes on YouTube, by the way, which is
that's a good sign. We're getting close.
A little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness.
Amen.
Good Shabbos, everyone.